Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Cricket on Forever Sports. It is cricket season. It is the Boxing Day test in just less than 2 days' time. And the Proteas mark their return to test cricket in South Africa for the first time since before we went into our first lockdown, since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's a very much a welcomed test return for the Proteas. No fans, unfortunately, for this week, which is very frustrating. And I think that it kind of sort of shows you where CSA is, that they have been dictated by the BCCI that there will be no fans for this series, and you can't, meaning that you can't put 2,000 people into a 22,000-seater stadium because of the risk that the bubble might be breached. Which is ironic when you think that I think we are probably the only nation in the entire world which is currently still playing cricket without fans and has not had fans at any cricket matches internationally since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. India obviously coming to South Africa on the back of New Zealand tour to India, where there were fans, stuff like that, but the BCCI saying that, you will not allow fans in because as soon as there's a single breach of the bubble, we are going to pull our team out and go. And unfortunately, given the sort of situation within CSA, given the lack of strength in the boardroom and stuff like that, we kind of have to. We can't afford for this tour not to go ahead because of the huge financial ramifications of the tour not happening. This is the biggest money maker in CSA's arsenal. It is an incoming tour from India. And in terms of also on the park itself, it's always a big test series against India because they have never ever won a test series inside South Africa. And I think this time it is their biggest opportunity ever to go and do that. We're talking about a side that has not played a lot of test cricket, a side which has not played particularly good test cricket in the last couple of years. No fans to try and add that little bit of extra. No Anurag Nokia, for example. No Quinton de Kock for the final two tests. It really is prime for India, who are the number one test team in the world, to come here and finally get over that final hurdle. However, it's a side where South Africa just always seem to manage to pitch up. There have been some very special performances in the past against India. And you think of somebody like Lungengidi, who I think if he does play in the three tests, has a big role to play because he made his debut against India in that final test against Wanderers a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago now, and was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I think, the biggest frustration is that because of injuries, he hasn't been able to kick on from that because at one stage, his stats were actually better than Kito Rabada's in terms of the start to his test career. Such was the prowess of Ngidi, but he hasn't quite been able to sort of kick on because of injuries and stuff like that. So it's a massive, massive ask for the Proteas with so much going on off the field. With the whole SJN Justice report coming out, apparently a bit of an inquest going about the appointment of Smith and Boucher and whether it was valid. And so there's a lot of off the field issues. However, Dean Olga has been very open about the fact that you cannot use that as an excuse. That no matter what's going on off the field, there can be no excuses for what the Proteas deliver come Boxing Day 10 o'clock at Supersport Park in Centurion. And in terms of sort of the team, quite a lot of big selection calls to make. The biggest one being the bowling lineup, which is South Africa's biggest strength. There's one area that we know going into the series that we probably have the upper hand. It is in our seam bowling attack. We have got some brilliant, even without Anurag Nokia, which is a massive, massive loss, we've got some brilliant options and some big calls to make within our bowling lineup. Obviously, our batting lineup is our biggest worry, and that's something that's really going to have to try and pitch up. But the biggest battle is going to be South African bowlers versus Indian batsmen. The likes of your Bajaras, your KL Rahuls, your Kohlis. It's about, can our bowlers get the better of them? Can we prevent Rishabh Pant from doing what he does and just being absolutely destructive towards the back end of a first or second innings and suddenly putting India in a very dominant position? These sort of small battles we need to make sure that we come on top of throughout the test series if we are to, at the very least, draw the test series, which I personally would take. I think a drawn series would be a massive success for the South African side, given how chaotic it's been and given how, I think that a lot of odds are stacked against them. In terms of the decisions, in terms of the team to make, the biggest decision is who replaces Anurag Nokia. And I think that it's time for South Africa to get over what DUANNE Olivieer did a couple of years ago when he left in a cold pack, and we've got to back him. And I think it's quite an interesting sort of showcase. It's quite an interesting example, the whole sort of DUANNE Olivieer series, and it's a very interesting case study in terms of somebody who hit the ground running and has had an absolutely superb start to his test career. He currently has 48 wickets in 10 matches where he has a strike rate of 30. Which means that every single time every 30 balls he bowls, he takes a wicket, which is an incredible strike rate. That's like, I think it's 11 balls better than the best strike rate in history of people with over like 200 wickets, for example. So when you talk about some of the best bowlers in the world, your Kagiso Rabadas, your Dale Steins, some of those players like that, they had strike rates over 40. So to have a strike rate of 30 is pretty incredible. And he's took a lot of wickets. I mean, at the way he was going, he would have broken that 200 wicket margin within 50 tests, which would have been a pretty incredible feat. So that is a bowler who then went over and signed a Kolpak. Now, I think that it's quite interesting because we have a very different attitude towards Kolpak players to what we do against South African rugby players, for example, who go overseas. And obviously, the case is a bit different because previously, when South African rugby players went overseas, not always, because there was a time when they weren't being selected, but they could be selected. Like currently, they can be selected for the Springboks. Therefore, nobody has any issue with players going over there and earning a lot of money. But there's always been this very, very hostile attitude towards Kolpak players because they sacrificed their Proteas career to go and sign a Kolpak deal. And I think at the end of the day, you've got to look at a little bit more objectively in terms of the financial gain that you get from signing a Kolpak deal compared to what you earn in South Africa. It is chalk and cheese, especially players like a DUANNE Olivieer who don't play in the IPL. They don't play in the Pakistan Super League. He doesn't play the big T20 franchises. So he doesn't get that sort of payout. So Kolpak, was a proper permanent contract. He's earned a lot of money. The big issue then came when he went over was when he said that he would one day like to play for England. And I think it was slightly misconstrued as well. He didn't come out and say, my dream is to play for England. I want to play for England, not for South Africa. Basically, what he was sort of saying is that his South African career is over. He signed a Kolpak. He had to make a decision for the betterment of his family, for whatever reason, whether you guys agree with it or not. He made the decision to leave South African cricket behind because he couldn't do both. You can't play in England and then play for South Africa. It doesn't work like that. So he said, Test cricket is the biggest sort of, it's the highest level of cricket you can play. And he says one day he might be lucky, he'd love to be lucky enough to be able to play it again. The only way he was going to be able to do that was to play for England. So a lot of people didn't like that when he came out and said, one day I'd like to play for England. And I can understand the reason people are upset, but I think also we've got to look at the reality. The reality is that in that situation, you could never play for South Africa again. As a player, you've got a very limited career. A very limited opportunity to make money to play at the highest level. So why cannot someone who made it in South Africa, made the decision to go overseas and make it a business decision basically, basically getting a promotion. It's like anybody taking a promotion in a normal company. And then saying, I would still love to play at the highest level, which is playing Test cricket. So it wouldn't have been ideal. It would have been very tough to have watched him play for England if he did go on to have done that. But he hasn't. Things have changed. The Kolpak deals are sort of fallen apart. We've got these players back in South Africa. And there's two ways we can go about it. We can either get very sour about them and say, no, you don't deserve it. You should never play for the Proteas again, yada, 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 yada. Or we can come to terms with the fact. We say, we understand why you left. We're not necessarily happy with it. Come and prove that you deserve our support. Come back here. If you get selected for the national side, prove you deserve our support. Because I think that if we were to try and turn our backs on all the Kolpak players, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. They are some of the best players in the world. He has come back and he has been absolutely phenomenal for the Lions. He currently has 28 wickets in the 4-day series, which is 8 more than the next best, which is Simon Harmer. He, alongside Lucas Pamela, Vian Mulder, and Sunil Magala, have been the best bowling attack in the country by a country mile. He's been absolutely phenomenal at local level. He needs to play this Test series. And as South Africans, we need to support him. We need to actually say, you know what? You did what you did. We're going to draw a line under the sand. Come and give your all. Come buy our sport back. Come and win this Test series. Because I genuinely think that if we are to win this Test series, DUANNE Olivieer will have a very big part of it. If he can bowl like he did when he made those sort of first 10 tests, it'll go a long way towards South Africa winning the Test series. In terms of the possible lineups, though, in terms of how we can line up, this is one of the many sort of possible lineups, but probably quite a likely lineup. So up front, Dean Elgar, Aiden Markham, we know that's going to be the case, and I think it's pretty settled to have Keegan Peterson batting at 3. Needs to have a good series, though. Hasn't quite managed to make that step up yet. Obviously, it takes quite a time to settle in a Test match level. You could go Sava or Irvia bringing in number 3, but I think Keegan Peterson is the preferred number 3 at the moment. Rusty van Dussen obviously bats number 4, and he's very much overdue a test match century. So hopefully we see that this series. Then Temavuma, Quinton de Kock. Temavuma is currently the vice captain of the team. He's not being dropped. For a lot of people that don't like him in the Test match lineup, he's going to play. In which case, 5-6 for Quinton de Kock. Now, this is the interesting part. You've got two options. You can play an additional batsman. You can leave out Maharaj, and you can have another bowler in there. You can go an all-seam attack and have another batsman at 7, Vian Mulder 8, 9, 10, 11. Or you can leave out Vian Mulder for batsman and ask Ed Markham to bowl part-times. But that only leaves you 3 seamers. So I personally think Vian Mulder has to play. And I think that Kagiso Rabada obviously plays, Duanne Olivier for me obviously plays, and Keshav Maharaj obviously plays. It's already been confirmed by Dean Olga. So the question is, does Lungi Ngidi play? And I do play him for the first test. I know he has not played a lot of cricket in the last couple of months. He's very much short of game time. However, an on-song Lungi Ngidi can win us a test match on its own. And I think that with Rabada, Olivier, and Ngidi, there's a nice combination, especially also with Vian Mulder, of lots of bowlers who are quite similar in terms of being able to have that pace. Obviously, Mulder and Ngidi are a bit slow, and Ngidi not quite the pace he used to have. But a little bit of difference, Duanne Olivier now is pitching it a lot fuller, but he also has a very nasty short ball. You obviously know the pace that Rabada has. Lungi Ngidi hits very nice areas, very much a test match bowler in terms of bowling a very good line length, can get the ball to move both ways. And then Vian Mulder's just got that very nice sort of medium into the right areas and just sort of creates and makes things happen. And Keshav Maharaj has proved time and time again that he, no matter what the conditions are, can find something and can do a job. The other options, you've got something like Sasana Magala, who's played out well in the one-day series. A very interesting option would be to take the risky option to go Marco Jansen, who's 2 meters tall, left arm, played in the IPL now, and can hold the bat. So it would be quite interesting moving forward if Marco Jansen were to come in, for example, maybe Lungi Ngidi, or even for Duanne Olivier, if you didn't want to go Duanne Olivier immediately. It does extend the batting lineup a little bit, because the biggest issue when it comes to South Africa is that it's a very long tail. We had a long tail for quite a long time. And that does come back to bite us, and especially when you think that our batsmen are currently underperforming. If you have one of the best batting lineups in the world, you can probably afford to have a long tail. But at the moment, our batsmen have unfortunately come up short quite a few times, and we've then had quite a long tail. But I think that this is how we're going to go for the first test. We're very interested to see if we do deviate from it. But players that have to step up are fast bowlers. We need Dean Elgar to be solid at the front, and this is the time for Aiden Markham to establish himself as the premier batsman in the side. Him and Quinton de Kock are quite easily the most talented batsmen in this lineup. But we haven't quite seen it from Markham yet. He started his career off brilliantly. And we all sat there thinking, this could be the next number 1 test batsman in the world. But he's now gone through a slump. And now, against the number 1 team in the world, he has to pitch up and he has to start playing like he is starting the T20s. We're starting to see, hopefully, the coming of age of Aiden Markham. And we really need to see that now in the longest format. So let me know what you think of this team. Let me know which changes you would make and what you think you're going to see down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel as well. We'll obviously be doing updates throughout the test match, doing daily updates, letting you guys know what's going on and stuff like that. But yeah, please do smash like on the video, as I said, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you guys all very soon.